Hello SPHL and Rivermen fans. Well, welcome to the video, and as always, thank you for watching. It's very much appreciated. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is what you need to see from teams to make a legit cup run and possibly raise the cup at the end of the year, especially with short series being 3-game series all the way through. And no matter where you're finishing the standings, 1 through 8, any team can have this if they playing good hockey at the right time. And also, I'm going to touch on what I want to see from the bottom teams, what I'm looking for as the next season approaches. I'm kind of going to start with what I think you need to see from teams to make a legit cup run and possibly raise the cup, because that's exactly what helped these two teams this year. Despite where they finished at 6th and 7th, it helped one of those teams raise a cup, and that was the Thunderbolts, who finished in 7th in the regular season. Nobody had Evansville raising the cup at the end of the season. Not even most Evansville fans had that. And if you say you expected that and thought that would happen, I'm telling you right now, you're full of crap. No, you didn't. Because why would you? They gave you no indication they were going to raise a cup at the end of the year. And same with Knoxville. At the end of the year, these were not cup contending teams in most people's opinions, not just mine. But those were the two teams that ended there, and I'm going to share with you on why I believe that happened. There's 3 key things. You got to be playing great team hockey, meaning you got to be hot at the right time, and not just in the playoffs, playing the last part of the season heading into the playoffs. You seen that with Evansville and Knoxville. They were playing better hockey as the season was winding down and saved their best hockey for the playoffs. And you could even say the same about Birmingham Bulls. You know, they had a shaky start to the season, but were playing their best hockey down the stretch and into the playoffs. The other 2 things you need, more so than anything else, is a great team defense and goaltending. Those absolutely have to show up for you if you have any chance of raising a cup. Now, a lot of you will say, hey, Wade, you got to score goals to win. Offense is important, and so special teams. And you're absolutely right. Offense is very important. You got to score goals to win, and so special teams. The number 1 offense and the number 1 special teams in the league was the Peoria Rivermen. So you see where that got them. It didn't get them even in a final appearance. So that's what I'm saying. A team defense is so important. You know, it can't, there's so little room to screw up. Very small margin you have in a 3-game set. And Muddinger and Cole Ceci were outstanding in the playoffs, and the team defense for Evansville was outstanding in the playoffs. The best I've ever seen the Evansville Thunderbolts team defense play. You got to be willing to block shots, back check, get in passing and shooting lanes, disrupt plays, get to rebounds, win puck and board battles, clear the puck, protect your goalie. It's hard. That's where, you know, you got to get physical, and where injuries can happen, and it's not always fun getting dirty in those in those areas of hockey. But that's what you got to do to win a championship. And Evansville did that better than any team in the postseason. It blew me away how well they played on team defense, and that mixed with Cole Ceci being brilliant at net, helped them raise a cup despite finishing 7th overall. You look at all 3 rounds, all 3 series. Head-to-head on paper, Evansville had no business getting by Huntsville Havoc. On paper, they didn't. Havoc has a hell of an offense. They got a great goalie tandem at the time with Mike Robb and Brian Wilson, and a pretty good team defense. The first game was a 2-1 win in overtime for the Huntsville Havoc. So right off the bat, they put Evansville in trouble. And Evansville had a pretty good team defense and a great effort by Cole Cece, but their offense just didn't show up. And honestly, their offense only showed up in 2 games. In 3 rounds, their offense showed up twice. That's it. And I'll explain that too. Okay, so we go on to game 2. This is where 9 times out of 10, Evansville gets swept, Huntsville moves on, and Evansville hits the golf course. But Evansville, due to an outstanding team defense and goaltending effort by Cole Cece, get a shutout victory, 2-0 against the Huntsville Havoc. Again, nobody had that on their bingo card. Havoc is up in the series 1 game. Again, Havoc have a great offense, good depth scoring. Even though Cole Cece's a good goalie, you expect Havoc to at least get a goal. You know, you don't expect them to get shut out, whether it's on the road or at home. And then when their offense finally did show up in this series, they ended up winning 4-3 and eliminating the Huntsville Havoc. But if not for their team defense and goaltending in the first 2 games, Evansville doesn't get out of the first round and they get swept. So because of that team defense, you were able to get by and obviously Cole Cece, you were able to get to a 3rd game and ultimately go on to the next round. Even when you look down at Knoxville, they lose their first game and look terrible, 4-1. Their team defense looked terrible. Mundinger wasn't the sharpest, but he didn't play horrible. The team defense was bad. And so they lost 4-1. Then you look at their next 2 games, and just like Evansville Thunderbolts, in game 2, when everything's on the line, their team defense shows up and Mundinger shows up and shuts out the Rail Yard Dogs 2-0 at home in Roanoke. Well, in Roanoke, at home for them. So again, you would expect a team like Roanoke to at least get a goal, maybe 2, especially the way they played against Rail Yard Dogs all year. I mean, this is a team that had Knoxville's numbers and took care of them pretty easily during the season, but they couldn't get a goal when it mattered most to sweep them and finish them and take care of the series. So because their team defense decided to show up and Mundinger was strong at net, they pushed for a game 3. And in that game 3 is when Knoxville's offense showed up and their team defense continued to play well with another strong performance by Mundinger, and they win 6-2. But if not for their defense and goaltending in game 2, they don't get to a game 3. And just like Evansville, they're swept out of the first round and they're hitting the golf course. That is why, especially in a 3-game set, in these short series, you got to have a great team defense. They've got to be clicking. They got to be willing to get dirty and sacrifice their body, literally put their body on the line and risk injuries to get a stick and a body in the passing and shooting lanes and blocking shots, to take a hit to make a play, to give a hit to make a play. You got to be willing to win in the dirty areas. And that's what these 2 teams were able to do when it mattered most. Moving on to the second round, again, Evansville had no business beating Peoria. None. I mean, 9 times out of 10 in a series, probably Rivermen win. But Their team defense showed up when it mattered most. When it mattered most. If you take out empty net goals in the sweep against Peoria, Evansville only scored 3 total goals. If you don't count the empty netters. With the empty netters, yeah, they got 5 goals in that series. They got an empty netter to win 2-0 in Peoria. Otherwise, that was a 1-0 game. All Peoria has to do is score a goal, and the net's not empty, and the game's tied. And possibly Riverman go on to win that. But the team defense in Cole Cece said no. 7 shots in 2 periods. The first 2 periods. The team defense in Cole Cece won game 1 in Peoria. Without a shadow of a doubt, Evansville offense did not show up in Peoria either. They did not execute. They got 1 goal. 1 goal should not win you a game in the playoffs. But for them, it would have. They didn't even need the empty net goal. So, again, you can thank the team defense in Cole Cece while you had a 1-0 lead going back to Evansville. And even in Evansville, the score was 3-1, but again, you had an empty net goal. Take the empty net goal away, and it's a 2-1 game. A 2-1 game. That's a very winnable game for Peoria if their offense executes and Cole Cece don't show up and that defense ain't playing great hockey. Again, Peoria, keep in mind, had the number 1 offense in the league and the number 1 special teams. 1 goal in 2 games. 1 goal and 0 goals in Peoria. Yeah, team defense and Cole Cece won you that series. Flat out they did. If the team defense that played in a regular season showed up in that series, Evansville doesn't make a Cup Finals appearance. They absolutely don't. I'm sorry, but a 7th place team finishing 24-24, 2-6 with 56 points compared to a 40-10 3-3 team with 86 points. I would put my money on that team that finished first over that 7th place team all day, every day. Again, especially when that first place team has number 1 offense in the league and number 1 special teams. Against a team like Thunderbolts, whose team defense was inconsistent and struggled, when Jordan Ernst put up 5 goals himself in 1 game against Cole Cece, your money's on Peoria in that series every time. But because of Cole Cece and that team defense deciding to play its best hockey it's ever played in its entire franchise history, showed up, got you to a Cup final, got you by the number 1 team, Peoria. So again, 2 unlikely wins for Thunderbolts. Really no business beating Thunderbolts and definitely no business beating Peoria. But you got to tip your cap. And they earned it. They absolutely earned their way into a Cup final with those performances from those series. You look at Knoxville. The Bulls are red hot coming into this. Absolutely, the Bulls are playing great hockey and red hot. So just like Roanoke, you expect Roanoke to sweep Knoxville, and especially when Knoxville loses game 1 at home. The same deal here. Knoxville loses game 1 at home to the Birmingham Bulls 4-2. Team defense, again, wasn't that great in this game. Mundinger was better in this first game than he was the first game in Roanoke. But again, got to have that team defense in the playoffs, and they were not there. But guess what? The team defense was there the next 2 games against the Bulls because they hold the Bulls to 1 goal in Birmingham and 2 goals in the game 3 in Birmingham. And that's when also Knoxville's offense shows up and scores 5 and 4 goals. Look, offense is important, okay? Like I said, you got to score to win. But if your offense is getting 4 or 5 goals a game and you have no defense or inconsistent team defense and goaltending, what good is those 4 or 5 goals if you're letting up 5 and 6 goals? Then that doesn't matter if you score 4 if you let up 5. So it is very important your team defense shows up in these short series and plays a 60-minute game. The facts are in the numbers, guys. It doesn't matter that it's coming from me. Hate me, like me, doesn't matter. You can think I'm full of crap all you want. If you look at the numbers back up how important it is to have a team defense in goaltending in hockey. And, of course, playing hot heading in. Knoxville losing their first 2 and only home games in a short series in rounds 1 and 2 to the Rail Yard Dogs in Birmingham. It's a miracle they even made a cup appearance, because they shouldn't have. Rail Yard Dogs should have took them out in the first round, and Birmingham Bulls definitely should have took them out in the second round. But they earned their way, despite being a 6th place team and finishing 25-24, 5-2 with 57 points. Just a scotch better than Evansville Thunderbolts, barely. Those are the 2 teams you got in the Cup Finals, because they were playing great team hockey at the right time, their best hockey, and their team defense and goaltending showed up to win. Flat out, plain and simple. It was not the Knoxville offense, and it was certainly not the Evansville offense that won them these games. I promise you that. And so then you go on to the final. You got Evansville sweeping Knoxville. Knoxville not winning a single game at home. You can't do that and expect to raise a cup. That is insurmountable to overcome and unheard of. No, I don't think any team in any sport, no matter how short the series is, has lost all their home games and then raised the cup at the end. So that absolutely hurt Knoxville. You gotta win your home games in a short series, especially. They were able to skate by in rounds 1 and 2, but it finally did them in the Cup final, not winning that game 1. As close to the games as they were, 4-3 going into overtime, and then the last game 2-1, where both team defenses and both goaltenders showed up ready to win. But one team's got to lose. 2-1 in overtime, So that was an Evansville offense that won that game 2 to sweep Knoxville. You raised your cup. Thank Cole Ceci and your team defense. That's why you raised the cup. Flat out, it's why you did. I think I made my point. How important it is to be playing good hockey at the right time. How important it is for your team defense to be playing at its highest level in the playoffs. Max effort. Like I said in the video, getting dirty, winning puck and board battles, getting in passing and shooting lanes, blocking shots, clearing the puck, getting the rebounds, taking hits to make a play, giving hits to make a play. You're literally putting your body on the line, risking it all, risking injury for glory to get that puck, to get that cup at when it's all said and done. That's what these teams did. They were not going to be denied. You were going to have to put in a max effort every single game to get by these teams. You couldn't let up. So. Like I said, you don't see a 6th and 7th seed that often battling it out to win a cup. You just really don't see that. But you got to credit Knoxville and Evansville for the way they played team defense, for the way Cole Ceci and Muddinger played. At the end of the day, Cole Ceci and Steven Muddinger were the MVPs for their teams. Throughout the playoffs, as well as that team defense, but you can't give an MVP to team defense, but you can give it to goalies, and they would have absolutely earned that right to be called MVPs. So heading into next season, that's kind of what the bottom teams need. They need goaltending, they need team defense, and they got to be more consistent on offense if they want to hope to make playoffs and make a cup run. If they even want to make playoffs in the first place, it's gonna be hard to predict the two teams to miss playoffs. One team I will predict to miss the playoffs, possibly even finish last place, it's very likely, is Macon Mayhem. Unfortunately for them, I think their best opportunity to make the playoffs was last season, when Pensy absolutely shit the bed with decisions they made, with the coaching they had and leadership. That was Macon's chance to possibly leapfrog a Quad City Storm or a Thunderbolts team to make playoffs, but they couldn't do it. So I don't see it happening next year, because I think Bolts are going to be much better next year. So I definitely don't see them getting by Bolts. I think Pensy will have a much improved year. I mean, that's your best hope, is if Pensy misses playoffs again, or Storm. But I think Storm, if they can bring back a lot of those young players that they brought in towards the end of the year, I think they'll at least finish 8th place again. I mean, it's going to be hard to leapfrog Storm if you're a Macon Mayhem team. I mean, Josh Boyko is great, so it's awesome if he comes back that you locked him up. I mean, he'll keep you in most games, but with a very inconsistent offense, no team defense or special teams, Josh Boyko can't do it by himself. And it's not like you have an all-star coach either, who's never made a finals appearance himself, and only one second-round appearance in his career as a coach in this league. So, like I said, that's kind of, I'm looking at those 4 teams, and you got to put Bolts at the bottom as one of the bottom teams, because they were a bottom team. They finished in 7th place. That's not a top team. And when's the last time they finished in the top 5? They haven't. So you still got to put, even though, as crazy as it sounds, even though Bolts raised a cup, and are the defending President Cup champs, you still got to put them in the bottom teams. They finished in 7th place. It's not like they killed it in the regular season. They were 24-24 in regulation. And if you count their overtime and shootout losses, they were below 500. So, again, you got to put Evansville towards the bottom. And I don't think Knoxville is going to drop towards the bottom and not finish in the playoffs. I think they'll be better. I think they're only going to get better. And I do think the Thunderbolts will get better if they bring back a lot of those people on the roster. So I got my eye on from basically top 6 and below on who they keep, moves made, who's their goalies heading in. With Bolts, if they can keep that roster together, I don't think they have to worry about missing the playoffs. I think they'll finish 6th or 7th again. They've been proven they can be playoff threats by raising a cup. They just got to get to the dance. So, it's really on Pensy, Macon, and Storm, I think, on who's going to miss the playoffs. And I'm counting on Macon. Out of those 3 teams, I think Macon's a good candidate to possibly finish last, but most definitely miss the playoffs. And then it'll be a battle between Pensy, Bolts, and Storm on who's the second team to miss out and who finishes 8th and 7th place. I think Knoxville finishes 6th or better. We'll see what Fayetteville does. I don't think Fayetteville finishes below 6th. Birmingham Bulls will have to see the team they put together. Maybe they kind of really go downhill next year. If Austin Loss doesn't return, we'll see if Hayden Stewart returns, which he most likely will, and and the team they put together. But again, these are teams that are most likely not finishing below 6th place. So it really does, process of elimination, boil down to those 4 teams. And Macon is the first odd man out. I don't see how they get by the other teams with the roster they have. They got a long way to go to even make playoffs, let alone be a contender in the playoffs. They certainly got a long way to go. The longest way to go, even longer than Pennsy, in my opinion. I think Pennsy will be an improved team, but they do got a new coach. So we'll have to see what that roster looks like and how that new coach handles the team and how he coaches the team. Probably a change in leadership over there. So again, we'll see how that plays out. But I think it's going to be a battle between Pennsy and Storm on who misses the playoffs, most likely. So we'll just have to wait and see. With that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Again, thank you guys for watching. It's much appreciated. Oh, crap. There's one note I put on here that I didn't mention. Kind of sucks to backtrack all the way into it. But just to hammer home how important team defense and goaltending is over offense. In Game 1 of the playoffs, Storm got out to a 3-0 lead against Peoria in Peoria. Pretty good offensive of performance, especially to start the game. Peoria won that game, 5-4 in overtime. So like I said, even though you score 4 goals, if you're giving up 5 goals, that offense really doesn't matter, does it? You gotta have team defense and goaltending, and their team defense and goaltending let them down in Game 1. If Storm win that game in Peoria, who knows what that series might have looked like. Most likely Rivermen still win that series, but at least they don't get swept. So, again, that just goes to show you that team defense and goaltending trumps a good offense all day, every day. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. I'll catch you at the next puck drop, and you guys know I always keep it Riverman style.